Sayer G here, and I am really excited to tell you about the launch of a project that has been many years in the making, which is that I finally have put my energy and my research into a product that I believe should be on the market. Now, many of you don't know my story, but when I came into the natural health advocacy space, I had already spent a good decade as a manager and educator for a natural health food store chain in Southwest Florida called For Goodness Sake. That store basically was a local resource for thousands of people that would come in and look for answers on how to take control of their health naturally. And so I did that work for about a decade, did a lot of one-on-one work, just coaching people, also getting them access to research that they didn't know existed. And that actually was the basis for me eventually creating GreenMedInfo and then leaving the health and wellness space, becoming a customer still of it, but also just taking myself out of the space of products because I wanted to create a resource that would help more people, I thought, by just providing the information they need in order to make an informed choice. Now, fast forward 20 years, from when I began working at this health food store and really accumulating a database of knowledge on, research that shows, yes, indeed, natural products are safer, effective, and time tested in a way that, allopathic patented chemicals aren't. So ultimately, here I am to tell you that I spent a good amount of time wanting to stay away from supplements, other than, of course, occasionally putting some mention of them in the newsletter if I thought that they would be beneficial. And now I'm telling you that there is a product with my name on it. In fact, it's Brain Health, inspired by Sayer G, put together with my colleague and good friend, Dr. Group at Global Healing. I chose his company. There were a number of great people in this industry that I ended up meeting over the course of many years, such as Patrick Bailey, for example, and Terry Naturally, for example. Terry is an amazing formulator. There were others that I consulted, and I also ultimately went with Dr. Group because of his passion and his integrity in sourcing materials in a very vertically integrated way, using the types of technology that actually Patrick Bailey gets credit for first bringing into the industry, which is Carillion photography, for example, which is able to assess the bioenergetic aura or quality of a raw material versus just the molecular composition, right? The biochemistries, which are important, but not as important in my understanding, nor Dr. Group's, as the energetic effects of those herbs. So what we've done is collaborated. The brain product is focused on supporting what is the largest number of followers at present demographically for GreenMedInfo, which is those who are of the 35 to 70 year range. So you put that in the middle there, 35 to 75, and you get about, about 55 years of age is my average. Now, I'm about to turn 50. I'm happy to say that I feel in many ways I'm healthier now than I was my entire previous, planetary sojourns, turning of the wheel of time here is that I actually feel better, stronger, more focused, more grateful for things than ever before. And so what I wanted to do was focus on something that I had a personal interest in using, as well as bringing to the base that I love and appreciate so much, because without you, we wouldn't be here today, a product that I think will actually help you in your day-to-day and help you realize many of the goals you have, which in my trajectory of wanting to live at least 100 healthy, active years is to stay completely awake, sharp, focused, feeling good, so that my mindset can then affect all the goals I have for my physical self. And that's a big part of, why we created this product. So Brain Health also contains a particular ingredient that I am so excited about. I've written about this previously on GreenMedInfo. If you think about whole brain health, one of the most important things is actually neural stem cell regeneration. There are these little cozy places in the various tissues in our body, like brain tissue, where there are these very quiescent cells, right? They're just sitting there waiting patiently, doing not much of anything. They happen to be relatively immortal and capable of differentiating into tissue that's damaged, into healthy new tissue. So in the case of brain health, where we're constantly being assaulted, unfortunately, by non-native EMF, like even the blue light off the screen you might be watching this from, is affecting you in a way that can cause some damage. So over time, the various things we're confronted with today, it could be low oxygen, right? I mean, look, we just went through several years where people were wearing masks, hypoxia, other factors that adversely affect the brain, which include toxicants from body care products, for example, certain types of stimulants in foods, right, that cause us to constantly want to eat more food, such as, MSG. All these things have effects on the brain. And ultimately, that's why I wanted to create a product that would protect the brain, enhance the ability to focus, and ultimately help to prolong our quality of life, into the distant future. So this product contains something you may not have heard of before, which is known as aromatic turmerones. Now, this is a fat-soluble component of turmeric that you don't often find in the products that focus mostly on the amount of curcumin that is found in the product. Now, curcumin is a relatively difficult to absorb biomolecule that ultimately can be absorbed. Hot water is an example, alcohol, DMSO, all those things can help it be absorbed. But ultimately, the focus is too myopic. It's too much on curcuminoids. Now, I wanted to introduce a product that had the entire spectrum. And when I say the entire spectrum, I'm not just talking about the biochemistry bouquet, the hundreds of different molecules found within turmeric, but also the energetic and informational parts of that plant. And that's where Dr. Group came in. Tell you more about that in a second. So aromatic turmerone is a fat-soluble compound that has been shown in preclinical research to cause the regeneration of brain tissue through the activation of neural stem cells, which exist in your brain. They're waiting there to be activated, and they can help you to basically stay young, maintain your biological age, and yes, it is possible to reverse biological age. There are many famous examples of this, like smokers stop smoking for 9 months and your biological age reverses 13 years. That was an Italian study that looked at biomarkers like skin elasticity and other, ways to ascertain biological age. So we know if you remove an adverse, exposure from the environment, it gives the stem cells that are naturally present the opportunity to regenerate that tissue. Now, if you keep damaging it, then over time, the stem cells get exhausted. And even worse, sometimes they can go amok, which is why cancer stem cells are such a big problem. So one of the best ways to prevent that, in my research, and of course, I've written about this in Regenerate, is to alter the epigenetic environment, which is the factors you can control that are above and control the activation of gene pathways that most of the cancer research focuses on. What are these oncogenes? How do we fight the genes? Well, technically, you do that by altering the environment within which the nucleic acids of the nucleus in the cell are bathed. And that's going to depend entirely on the choices you make in your diet, in your lifestyle, in the way in which you navigate challenges, right? Are you going to be stressed out because you just lost your job? Or are you going to go ahead and use that as an opportunity to create a better life, find a better job? So it's all about attitude and choice as well, not just about what you are putting in your body. That said, this product, in my opinion, is one of the best ways to add to your ability to navigate the constant exposures that we're faced with that are causing our bodies to have to recruit this regenerative capability, but which over time can get exhausted. So one of the things that I wanted to do with Dr. Group was also focus on the energetic signature of the plant. And so that's where we're using a different way to ascertain the quality of the ingredients and adding in other really unique, I guess you could say, methodologies in producing this product, one of which is the use of so-called orbitally rearranged molecules from a special type of mineral, also known as monoatomic elements, which include actual gold. That's something I've been interested in now for 20 years. And finally, I have a product that does contain that aspect of what I think is the most compelling sort of like futuristic way in which we take back control of our health, which is to make sure even our aura is fed with the ingredients it needs to protect itself. Like we all know what an aura is, right? Some people look sad, some people look excited, full of life and light. Well, that is exactly what I attempted to do with Dr. Group, which is to reproduce some of the mechanics of increasing the aura, helping to generate more positivity and more protection. Now, some of this might sound like pseudoscience and woo to you, but I've been writing about this topic for many years because GreenMedInfo specializes in accumulating the biomedical research from peer-reviewed journals that show, in fact, there is science to support some of the ancient folkloric ways of understanding the benefits of plants. Now, one of my articles was on, is turmeric an emissary of compassion? How is it possible that this one plant, right, that, you know, in our whole GreenMedInfo database that took me about 15 years of accumulating about 80,000 abstracts, why is it that when it comes to turmeric, this is our most evidence-dense, and I guess you could say evidence-based herb when it comes to affecting about about 1/3 of the conditions that we have indexed in our entire database that afflict humanity. What I'm saying is that there are about 3,000 diseases that we have indexed on GreenMedInfo. And in an attempt to try to see what will help to benefit people that don't want to develop cancer or have cardiovascular disease and want to take a more natural route, why is turmeric applicable to about 1/3 of those diseases? Meaning, I have now indexed over 3,400 abstracts under the banner of turmeric and have found that about 1/3 of all human suffering, as diagnosed within the conventional medical system, may benefit from turmeric or compounds within turmeric, such as curcumin or alpha turmerones. Now, of course, GreenMedInfo exists so that people can look at the research, and instead of, going to any website that says, okay, this helped my mother cure herself of cancer and therefore everyone in the world should take it, we're trying to give the world this language of science, which is a sort of bridge so that the allopathic practitioners can catch up and eventually realize that, yeah, in fact, there is a good amount of research for this. And maybe we should utilize some of these ancient, safe, effective, affordable, time-tested remedies to help alleviate suffering in our patients. Now, that doesn't mean we're making health claims. So, for example, it is not legal, nor am I making this claim right now, that you can prevent, diagnose, cure, or treat a disease with a non-natural substance. If you make a statement like that, the FCC and FDA can attempt to accuse you of practicing medicine without a license or making false statements, that's a big deal. So what I've always aspired to do is not deprive those who are looking for information of a choice as to how to direct their own health destiny by saying, you know what, you should do this, you should do that, take this, and that'll cure that. That's the allopathic model, right? One pill, one ill. Let's just keep on throwing pills at the problem. Let's keep on diagnosing conditions. That model is bankrupt and it's caused a ton of suffering. What I would rather you do is access the information that is available. Again, peer-reviewed journals. I've spent a lot of time, okay? I don't know how many hours it is, probably 20,000 hours indexing that research. So you don't have to take that time. But that's not where it ends. The next step is that you then get to make an informed choice. So that's what it's all about. Now, when it comes to products, I created this product again, primarily because I didn't see a product out there that matched the specifications for what I myself want to take. And I do think it's time to basically break out of the shell of just being in my ivory tower of academic studies and just wait for people to kind of show up and then use it. Because what I did for many years before I created GreenMedInfo is I would hold people's hands. I would take them to the produce case at the health food store and I would say, listen, this is what kale does. This is why it's superior to milk in this respect, or this is why it has more zeaxanthin than you find, in supplements. Let's use food as medicine. Spent hours and hours doing that, repeating myself. And eventually I realized, you know what, I got to create a resource that you can access anywhere online. And that became successful. But my real skill, my real talent and gift is helping people find products that work for them. And that's something that I did before I created GreenMedInfo. And I give myself credit for, standing really strong with no conflicts of interest. I mean, we could have plugged Google AdWords into GreenMedInfo and made a massive amount of revenue. But what would have happened is ads would have came up saying, okay, take this product for this condition. And we didn't want to support that approach. So now I'm at a point in my life where, you know what, let's just help people out. We created a product that has 60 servings. You take a dropper full a day. And one of the cool things about it, and I'll tell you more about it in a second, is you can just put it in water like this, and you can just let it solubilize fully, and you can drink it like that. And what it does is it adds structure and information and energy to the water you're drinking. It's a pretty neutral taste. If you've ever eaten ginger or turmeric raw, it can kind of sting, and it's not something that generally your body's like, you want to take in. This is very easy to take in. In fact, I just went to a high interval training class, and I put this in the water I drink. I take a pretty big container. It's like 64 ounces. And it just helps me continue to get that energy flowing. I start to feel my chi, kind of like flow more easily. So it's made for convenience. Yes, you could take it straight. It's not unpleasant in any way. And ultimately, what we have in here is not just aromatic turmerones, right? This fat-soluble component that you don't normally find in curcumin-based supplements. We also have curcuminoids, and we're not looking at just one. There are many, and we have those in a mixture. We also have the actual whole turmeric, because my philosophy is that you have a near infinite amount of energy and information present within a whole plant. And so basically, when you take out a component, you're basically making the same fatal step of the pharmaceutical industry. You're assuming there's these magic monochemical, bullets that you can take out, the magic bullet. And if you take that, then your problem will go away. That's not how it works. Actually, lower quantities mixed with other ingredients will create synergies that are orders of magnitude more therapeutic than just taking out one isolate and measuring it by what's called molecular weight. Let's say 10 milligrams of curcumin per serving. We're constantly thinking about it in those terms, right? And we have to take out these little components, and that'll tell us whether it's good for us or not. Well, my understanding has always been that if you look at the whole plant, you get so much more available to you. For example, let's say Monday, I have a sore knee. Well, my body has an active dialogue with whole food compounds and is able to extract out, let's say, these 28 compounds from that ingredient. Now, if it's on Wednesday and I end up having maybe some cardiovascular inflammation, my body can then select out these 10 components. So there's an interchange, a communication, an intelligent process. Now, if I just throw one of these isolates of the many hundreds of ingredients from the whole plant at the problem, that isn't necessarily going to have anything close to the same benefits. So the other thing that we've gone out of our way of putting in here includes, of course, Ginkgo Biloba. Now, Ginkgo is remarkable. If you look at the post-Hiroshima ground zero, you'll find that the one plant that survived was a Ginkgo plant. And you look at its ancient history that goes back 100 million years plus, it is one of the few ancient plants that survived major cataclysms on this planet. So it has this history of having profound resilience. And that is not just against radiation, it's against things like pathogens, and it has a powerful antioxidant quality that's specific to memory. So putting ginkgo in, not just in terms of its chemical compounds, but its energetic signature, provides the body additional ways to resonate with a longevity pathway or program. And that's part of what this product is about. In my research, which is documented in Regenerate pretty extensively, I've come to understand that what helps us to optimize the longevity pathways within our genome and epigenome are certain key compounds and extracts that are only found in plants like turmeric. Now, we know about polyphenols, right? They're very famous for, for example, red wine has resveratrol, very famous polyphenol, or green tea has catechin, a very famous polyphenol, or turmeric has curcumin, very famous polyphenol. Those are compounds that have been studied to induce, through what's known as xenohormesis, a set of pathways in our body that signal you need to get stronger, you need to recruit regenerative pathways, you need to basically reproduce some of the benefits that happen when you fast. All these things start to activate. Now, if you rug pull, because of the Western diet having none of these compounds, those compounds out of your physiological system, then the body is more prone to degeneration. So that is the premise by which I created this product with Dr. Group, is we are recruiting many of the compounds that we know were found in high concentrations in the ancient diet. I mean, if you look at wild grown berries, or if you look at organic grapes, you'll find at times orders of magnitude higher concentrations of these compounds than if you do it through conventional farming practices. That's because if you're spraying chemicals on the plants to keep the pests away, the plants can't develop their, resilience pathways or immunological responses, which then give us the same benefits when we consume them. So what we're doing here is we're balancing out the standard American diet, the SAD diet. It doesn't have enough of these compounds in order for us to end up regaining a footing, vis-a-vis this chronic disease, a curse that is affecting most of the Western world. I mean, we are dying primarily from preventable and reversible diseases. So how do we adjust that? One way is we infuse ourselves and our bodies with a daily, hopefully, charge, nutrigenomic wave of information that is going to awaken within our body, the mainframe, the hard coding genes, the circuitry, the programs and patterns that have helped us and our ancestors survive through countless millennia. That is the intention behind this product. Now, interestingly, we have another really cool extract, which is a proprietary extract of sea buckthorn. Sea buckthorn is really unique because, many of us have mucous membrane inflammatory issues or sensitivities. Well, sea buckthorn is one of the rare sources of omega-7, which is one of those fatty acids you just don't find very often in the, modern diet, and is able to address some of these mucous membrane issues. But the primary reason why it's in there is because it's been found that extracted in the way in which this particular form is, it has antioxidant capacity that's even higher than grapeseed. And it's those antioxidants, of course, which help to neutralize all the free radical damage that we are perpetually being exposed to, which contribute again to premature aging, and then ultimately exhaust the stem cells in our body that are being recruited to constantly have to heal our body. So if we can nip it in the bud, at a sort of base level, which is where inflammation happens as well, through an antioxidant formula, then it's a win-win. And when I say, antioxidants like this can help with inflammation, I'm looking at the reality of how lipooxygenase, like LOX enzymes, and cyclooxygenase, like COX-2, operate, which is they are burning a fatty acid known as arachidonic acid and creating an oxidation event. That's why antioxidants can help to reduce inflammation, because they help to reduce the general pro-oxidant state within which those enzymes are thriving. So instead of popping what we now know are potentially deadly NSAIDs, right? Or, taking Tylenol or some type of other anti-inflammatory, we can address the issue through altering our nutrigenomic environment. So it's another reason why I find this product to be powerful. Now, ultimately, there are many other ingredients in here we can talk about, but I want you to understand that one of the reasons why we put ashwagandha in here is because it's an ancient Ayurvedic herb that helps to promote regeneration. It's even used for libido, but not in the way you think. It's not a stimulant. It actually helps your adrenal glands and your system to go into a reparative cycle. It's a calming agent, which then has that anabolic stimulating effect long-term, because your energy supply, or what's known in the Chinese system as your Jing, the essence of your inherited qi energy, can be enhanced with certain compounds. And I believe ashwagandha is one of the best compounds for that. There are others. American ginseng can help. You can take B vitamins. Vitamin C, for example, helps as well. But what I'm really referring to here is the choice to put ashwagandha in this product, because if you want longevity, right, you really want that clear mind. You also want to support peace within the physiological system. And that is another thing about this ashwagandha, is it helps to dovetail with the sea buckthorn, antioxidant-rich formula, as well as the different aspects of turmeric that you will probably not find in any other product. So for me, this is a great win. You know, it's a great win for health and wellness. It's a win for me personally, because I just haven't put my name on anything before. I've not really felt compelled to reproduce products that already exist in the market. And due to Dr. Group's interesting, passion in alchemy and exploring the ancient ways in which high quality plants have been produced to work as plant allies with humanity. I mean, if you think about it, we would not be here if it were not for the foods and the herbs that we co-evolved with. And, this has become the basis for my understanding of how human physiology operates, because of the discovery that these microRNAs, which are packaged in little nanoparticles about the size of viruses, found in all the foods we eat, and as well as in herbs like curcumin, they help to regulate our gene expression. So you can't take the foods out of the diet that we used in order to survive as a species for literally millions of years without there being degenerative results, which is what the chronic disease epidemic is all about. So how do you address that? Well, let's be realistic. Are you going to be munching on a piece of raw turmeric a day? Unless you're from a culture like, let's say you're Indian, where you have turmeric in good quality, you're not going to be getting that constant, really, it's like a software upgrade, right, in your operating system, because technically the hard coding genes of the body, of this meat suit, what they rely on is the regulatory microRNAs that are found in the foods that you consume. So it's like software updates. You're constantly getting software, and that's what this stuff does. Now, keep in mind, even if you are Indian, you're consuming turmeric regularly, or you happen to be a Westerner who likes to use it in your food, most of the herbs on the market today that do not say certified organic have been exposed to some type of either chemical or radiological alteration. When I say radiological, I'm talking about the use of cobalt-based radioisotopes from decommissioned reactors that have now been used for decades to cold pasteurize, which sounds really friendly, the herbs on the market. What they're using is several thousand times more than a human lethal dose of gamma radiation to destroy the vitality of the spice, as well as the information within it, in order to preserve it so it stays on the shelf forever, which is sort of absurd, because good spices should last long anyway. And then when I say long, I mean several years. So in other words, even though you think you might be getting a really healthy spice, if it's not certified organic, if you cannot be assured that it hasn't been exposed to radiation or dyes and bleaches and all these other things they're using, then you are not getting the benefits of it. That's another reason why we created this. Sometimes I'll eat lettuce and I'll think about it and I'll be like, if I were to take a device that looks beneath, right, the visible spectrum of light, I would imagine that little measly piece of lettuce, which is 99.9% water and could be condensed down to a little fleck of actual matter if it was dried, has an auric field that's about this large. So when I eat a lettuce, it's not like I think, oh, this is nothing, it's just fiber. I feel it as an energetic field. And so this is the same thing about turmeric in high quality and or this product, is you see the light that comes from it. Now, if you go on GreenMedInfo and you search the topic of curcumin and LED emissions, you'll find that scientists have already discovered that curcumin releases white light. And interestingly, if you go into the Hindu tradition, and specifically Sanskrit language around turmeric, you'll find at least 12 different words to describe it, because it is so multidimensional, has so much to do to work with the human body. Now, we think of ginseng and other herbs sometimes as being adaptogenic, but to me, turmeric is the ultimate adaptogen, meaning if you look at GreenMedInfo, you see 160, or is it maybe 180 plus distinct pharmacological actions. It's as if you're describing the many-handed goddess that is sometimes attributed to this particular plant. Okay, Maha Gauri is a Hindu goddess with 4 arms that's associated with this plant that shines light. And it's not just a light to brighten your eyes, it's a light of goodness and compassion. And that is the beauty of what this plant really is. I've spent a lot of times thinking about this, guys, and I give Michael Pollan some credit too for introducing to people this concept that there is this ancient poetry embedded in the relationship between humans and plants. Not any plant, but specifically angiosperms, which are the flowering, fruit-bearing plants that include things like turmeric, and most of the foods we consume today, grains and fruits and berries and nuts, are angiosperms. Now, for several hundred million years, there's been this essential relationship between complex animal forms such as ourselves, sometimes known as metazoa 2.0, and angiosperms, because they co-evolved, meaning this plant, over here, let's say it produces berries, is feeding this animal, and together they have their fates tied. If the animal is healthier by eating the berry, and it helps to disseminate the seed farther away so this plant can continue to thrive and grow and expand its community and evolve, well, guess what? They depend on each other. So why wouldn't that plant give that particular animal survival advantage, confer benefits to him or her, so that she can continue, or he can continue to expand the overall health and wellness and penetrance of that species? That's happened for millions and millions of years. So over time, and this is a good example, because why do humans not produce vitamin C anymore? Because for many, many years, we consumed vitamin C rich foods. Other animals can still produce vitamin C en masse. They can convert glucose in their blood into ascorbic acid, which is why they're not as prone to metabolic diseases such as diabetes type 2. We lost that. We lost this genetic ability many millions of years ago, because we so need to eat vitamin C rich foods. So take the vitamin C out of the equation like we do now, and I'm not talking about just ascorbic acid, I'm talking about good food-based vitamin C, and what do you get? A plague of degenerative diseases. In fact, Linus Pauling, who received 2 Nobel Prizes, one of his discoveries was, if you're looking for a unified theory of cardiovascular disease causation, well, look at vitamin C deficiency. We don't produce adequate quantities, so our body produces lipoprotein A in excess and uses cholesterol basically as a band-aid on the inside lining of our blood vessels and arteries to keep us from bleeding to death. So why blame the band-aid for the original injury to the cardiovascular insult, when in fact the actual problem is vitamin C deficiency preventing you from producing collagen so you can heal all your blood vessels. Do you see what I'm saying? So when you go back down the rabbit hole of understanding that vitamin C and other compounds in foods are essential for our well-being and the survivorship of our species, you start realizing, oh, wow, it's that important that I consume something like this on a regular basis to maintain my health, my well-being, and my spirit. So this product, I am proud to say, is one of the products that, doesn't exist out there until now. And we created it in such a way that make it as affordable as possible. It's a 2-month supply, retails for $49.95. I believe we're going to have a special when we introduce it, but this is a product that I feel proud of. Now you can know that Sergi isn't just some kind of information maven online spouting all these research studies, but that I've actually put my heart, soul, and mind into a product that I think will actually benefit you profoundly. That's why I take it daily, and that's why I hope that you'll look at it as well as one of the tools in your toolbox. Never before have we been confronted with so much adversity on a health level. I mean, even just the EMF invisible non-native wave issue that we're dealing with every day is enough of a problem. So for me, it's also kind of placebo, right? It's an insurance policy. I know that I'm doing something for myself. It's a bit of a ritual. I do love the color. You know, to me, that color is just infusing me with light and life. And that's what I want for you as well. So I hope that you enjoy my story about this product, and I hope that you'll try it and you give us feedback, because it's also about your experience, not just the theory of, oh, is it good for me? You know, Sayer says it's good for me. Well, I want you to tune into your bodies. I want you to really sense, is this helping me? Am I feeling the Ormus vibration of these minerals? Am I getting, you know, all these compounds, hundreds of them that are naturally found in this product that our ancestors probably needed in order for us to even get here? I hope so. Anyway, thanks for, again, all your support, and looking forward to hearing from you when you have a chance to take the product. Thanks so much.